Hi, is Elsa? Is it Elsa? Hello, welcome to Trauma on the Screen. The film is The Duff. If you have watched the film, so you are aware, welcome. I hope you stay and tap the screen as you come on the live. And we'll be starting in a minute. We want to share themes around trauma on the screen. And basically, what we do is we choose a film. I'm going to do trauma on the screen. So I'm not doing battles. So if you want to come up, you need to be discussing the film, The Duff, please. I'm discussing. Thank you for joining. Hi, Fifi. Hi, Fifi. Good to see you here. So basically, we are talking about the film, The Duff. And this film is set in a high school. It's about a young lady or a student, Bianca. And Bianca's parents have just divorced. And she has a couple of friends. She hangs around Casey and Jess. And there is the first theme I wanted to share on Trauma on the Screen is worthiness and world beauty. Bianca doesn't believe that she's beautiful enough, and she's herself basically, and everyone in the school thinks that her friends, the two friends Casey and Jess, are very beautiful. And this is a standard. This is a standard introduced in this world which makes people feel insecure about themselves and about how they look. World beauty standards. So people think that Casey and Jess are very beautiful and that Bianca is the other one in the group, which means that they called Bianca the Duff, the designated ugly fat friend, although she wasn't all that, but because they didn't feel that she was attractive enough like the other two girls, they referred to her as that. And Bianca obviously didn't know about this. And we can do this in life, and especially at school and even in life in general, where we don't feel beautiful enough for the relationships that we are in or for someone. And this also happens when people compete for someone in a relationship because they feel that maybe it's a husband or a partner. My partner is trying to cheat with someone more beautiful, but that's not the case. It's because society has pushed beauty standards on us. Hi, Defonot Olivia. Sorry, I might not be able to pronounce your name properly. Welcome. And the world might push that beauty towards us such that we don't feel good enough around people we think are more beautiful than us. But that is not the case. Usually, if you are in a relationship and you are finding that your partner is probably going to other people, it's not the beauty element. You need to look into what's going on in the relationship itself. So this is what Bianca felt. She didn't feel beautiful enough, and everyone at the school didn't think that Bianca was a beautiful girl. And this can make young people feel insecure, and this can make young people try too hard in relationships because they want to look good. They want to look better than their friends, or they want to look like their friends, which can push people's mental health and then push people to the brink. Welcome, Chair Beauty, and everyone else coming on. So there is another girl who was in the picture in this film, Madison. Madison called herself the hottest girl in the school. And again, this is society. Someone told her that she's the hottest girl in the school. And so she felt entitled and she had bad attitude because of that. Because people sometimes, when they look good, according to world standards, believe that they are better than everyone else and that they are more entitled than everyone else. And that is a very dangerous notion. Thank you so much for everyone coming on the live and tapping the screen. And also, Madison didn't think much of Bianca, and Bianca was Wes' neighbor. Wes was an on and off boyfriend of Madison. So she didn't think much of Bianca because even though she felt that she was very beautiful, deep down, she knew that there was some kind of competition with Bianca because Bianca was close to Wes because they live next door to each other. And she was cruel, Madison. And it's also interesting, it's not mentioned in the film, but it would have been interesting to find out what kind of parents were raising her. Because usually when people behave a certain way, you need to look into how they were raised. You need to look into, if they are children, you need to look into the type of parents who are raising them. Thank you so much, Olivia, for tapping the screen. And so Bianca lacked confidence in herself, and that's another issue because of different factors. She didn't feel good enough, and number two, she also had gone through a crisis in her life. Her parents had divorced. People don't really recognize how impactful a parent's divorce can be to a child. When children have a two-family home, they feel safe. And I need you to recognize there's a caveat to what I'm going to say. Children feel safe in a two-parent home. At the same time, if the two-parent home is also chaotic or it's toxic, children also don't feel safe. But so children get caught up in the middle of this situation where they want to be in a two-parent home. At the same time, there is toxicity when parents don't get on and children suffer. They struggle whether parents stay together or parents don't stay together. And that is something we need to be aware of. Number one, when we are in these relationships and they are getting toxic, we don't stay for the sake of the children because it will impact the children. It's not good for them. Hi, Sister Evenaku. Thank you for joining. It doesn't help the children if the relationship between the parents is toxic. At the same time, when parents divorce, children will feel the impact and they will struggle. And there is something called abandonment trauma, which children suffer from when parents divorce. And this is what was happening in Bianca's life. She was struggling because her parents had divorced. And what happens is when parents divorce, the other issue is that when the parent who's with the children is grieving the loss of the ended relationship, this impacts the children a lot because the parent cannot give children adequate attention. And it's the same thing when the relationship is toxic. The parents cannot give children enough attention, enough love, and enough acceptance because they are focusing on their own issues. It's very difficult for one person to be in a challenging situation and then to have someone else to look after. It's challenging. So this is what Bianca was going through, and this might also have affected her worthiness and how she viewed herself, because obviously without a dad there to support her, she didn't have someone to strengthen her. There are important dads and there are important moms. Both parents are important, but we are not advocating that people stay together when the relationship is not healthy. Instead, we advocate that, if possible, work towards a positive outcome and work towards a healthy dynamic so that it benefits you and your quality of your life and also a relationship. Because a strong, healthy relationship is good for the children. But if it's not healthy, it's not good for anybody, including yourselves. So your mom, Bianca's mom, also went through worthiness issues post-breakup. as she had attached her worth to her relationship. And this is what sometimes people do. They get into a relationship and they attach, hi Lydia, they attach their worthiness to the relationship. And so when a relationship ends, they struggle because their worth is now ripped apart. They don't feel worthy anymore because they had attached their worthiness to the relationship. Thanks for being here, Lydia, and thank you for tapping the screen. So back to Bianca, she became to be the other because her friends were considered more attractive, more appealing. The boys liked them in the school, and even other girls liked them because, in school, other children like the popular kids and respect the popular kids. Oh, thank you so much, Lydia. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Appreciate the gifts. And so boys tried to talk to her. Boys tried to talk to Bianca so that they could get through to her friends. And this can happen where people come to you to talk to you about your beautiful friends, but they are overlooking the fact that you might actually be the best person amongst your friends, because it's not about outward beauty. It's about how you show up. It's about character. It's about how you feel as a person. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, everyone coming in, Julie and everyone else. And Bianca. And so there was also Wes. Wes was a neighbor of Bianca. She was another fellow student, and he basically slept around. And this was something that turned off Bianca, but a lot of girls liked him. And this is the thing. When you have standards, when you have integrity, you don't attach yourself to people who are popular for the sake of popularity. You are more interested in people's integrity and people's character. So that's important to know. Lynn, hi. Thank you for joining. So we can also revisit West sleeping around. People sleep around because of worthiness issues. As much as we might think that they are sleeping around because they feel confident in themselves, no, they don't. Because if you feel confident in yourself, if you respect yourself, you respect your body. You are not going to sleep around. You are not going to put yourself, your body in any and every situation. You respect your body enough not to lie in every bed or lie everywhere. So Wes had worthiness issues, which is why he slept around. And the worthiness issues might have stemmed from his own home because his parents were going through a difficult time. Because in the end, we hear Bianca asking Wes whether his parents are going to divorce. Hi, Pastor Gates. Thank you so much for joining. And we hear that his parents were also divorcing. And this is because there was a problem. And this might have shaken West. As I said, the environment in which a child is raised impacts how they show up, impacts how they behave, because it impacts how they feel about themselves. So Wes, in sleeping around, was trying to cope with this situation at home. But people thought that he was this great guy at school and every girl wanted him. Another theme in this film is genuine friends. Despite the school considering that Jess and Casey were more beautiful than Bianca, they accepted Bianca for who she was, and they supported her in whatever she wanted or she did. And they tried to encourage her to be more social. And these are friends we need in life. Friends who don't compare themselves to us, friends who accept us, and friends who allow us to be who we are, at the same time also prompting us to be better. Because what you don't need are friends who just encourage you to be you when you are making mistakes. There is a difference. Your friends can stand by you. Thank you so much, Eben Aku. Your friends can stand by you, but they can also remind you of the work you need to do to improve yourself. We are a work in progress. We've got something we can do in our lives to improve how we show up each and every moment. And when we have friends, they can also notice our blind spots and remind us about things that we need to work on, areas where we need to improve. And this is what Jess and Casey were trying to do with Bianca, trying to encourage her to maybe improve her wardrobe, but not pushing it on her to the point that they didn't accept her because of what she wore. That is important. So what happened was one day Madison turned Bianca down for her party, for a midweek party. But Casey, who was Bianca's friend, fixed that for her by writing. She created an instant invite for Bianca, which Madison couldn't deny. Because what happens with these popular kids at school, they also know that there's someone better than them. And so Madison knew that Casey and Jess were also popular kids. And she was fake friends with them, so she had to accept them. Otherwise, she would lose a lot of people, or she would be less popular because of that. We also have Wes. Wes, despite his womanizing, had a crush on Bianca, but she didn't know. And she also didn't believe that a guy like Wes would date a girl like her, in her own words. And this is, again, another issue in life where you might think that this person is above my league or out of my league. What league are you talking about? I have heard this before a lot of times when people talk about someone being out of their league. There is nobody who is out of anyone's league. You got a BCC. What's that? Would you specify, please, Adam? Thank you. There is nobody who's out of anyone's league. Anyone can be with anybody they want to be with, as long as that person wants to be with them. Because there's nothing that person has that doesn't fit into or onto this person. It doesn't work like that. So don't let society dictate to you that there's someone who's better than you or someone who's not good enough for you. No, because it's people's character and how you relate to each other that matters at the end of the day. If you want to be with someone, as long as you are of good character and you get on with them and you've got something to offer them in terms of good character and you get along and other things that they are looking for, then there is nothing that's going to make a difference in the relationship. So don't let society dictate to you who you can be with or who you can't be with because of how you look or because of what you have. So that is important to know. So Another theme that I picked up is about divorce and grief. And Bianca's mom had been divorced. And we noticed there's a scene where she was driving, I think it's a lawnmower, and she was, or something, where she was tearing her ex-husband's clothes while she was drinking wine. So this is what grief does to people. It can plunge people into despair. It can lead to self-sabotage patterns. It can lead to self-destructive behaviors. And it is important to recognize these behaviors or to recognize when you break up with someone that you need space and time to process the divorce, to process the breakup in a healthy way. You need a community in which you can be supported, a community in which you can grieve the loss, a community in which someone and other people can hold space for you until you are ready to take on the world or to move out into the world, because it can be difficult. As human beings, we struggle with attachment wounds or attachment. And when we have someone in life or we have something we can be attached to it. And when we lose it, it can be quite challenging to let it go. So it's important, as I shared one video the other day where it is important to grieve losses, especially following a breakup, to intentionally process a breakup, because many people just move out of a breakup and then they are randomly looking for the next person. And it doesn't help you to rush in and out of relationships, out and into relationships, you need time to process your grief, you process your losses, to process your breakups intentionally with support before you can move on, because you will keep repeating patterns if you haven't taken time to assess what happened in your ended relationship, what went wrong, what was your contribution, and what is it that you can change in future. It is very important that we look into all those aspects of relationships before we move on. Very important. Thank you so much for the follow. It's Anne. Thank you to everyone who's joining, and tap the screen please as you come on, and share the live. So it's important to process your divorce, to process your breakup, because many people don't realize that the reason why they keep plunging into unhealthy relationships, they keep plunging into unhealthy patterns, they keep repeating the same patterns, it's simply because you didn't process what happened in the previous situation. You didn't process the problem in the previous situation, and so you don't know what's went wrong. You haven't assessed what you need to change, which is quite important. Thank you so much for sharing the live. And the other theme that I want to share with you that many people might not be aware of, and this is a theme that I share in my inner child work. When I do inner child work with someone, I invite you to learn about a favorite sport. Bianca had a favorite sport to where she took Wes. And the favorite sport is about somewhere you liked maybe as a child, a sport you liked as a child, or a similar sport to something you liked as a child. And also, it can be a sport you like now as an adult. And this space is where you feel safe. Somewhere where you can sit and process a situation. Somewhere where you can go, even when you are feeling good, you can just go there and feel your feelings and just be present. Or somewhere where you can remember what happened in your life, but be able to feel safe there and process what happened to you. And if you don't have a safe space or a favorite spot, try to find out somewhere or some place that you like, and try to utilize those spaces to go there and process how you feel when you are going through a crisis. It's very important for you, and it's quite healing and it's quite helpful. But you've got to be intentional. It's not just about going to that space and sitting there. It's about going there with intention to process your feelings, and then when you are there, to sit with your feelings and to tune in and to name your feelings, find out what's going on, and find out why you feel as you do, and find out what you need to do differently and make changes in your life. So that's important. And Bianca took Wes to her favorite spot, and then when she went on a date with her crush, and then was let down by a crush, she found Wes in a favorite spot with Madison, and she was not happy. That was some form of betrayal. But then again, Wes had a crush on Bianca, but he wasn't telling her. He wanted to give her time to process how she was feeling about her crush, and then to recognize whether there was a relationship with the crush or not. And after that, when she recognized that the crush was not into her, she was able to recognize that Wes was into her. And sometimes that's what it takes for some people. They rush to someone, or they have a crush on someone else, and this person might not be interested in them. And sometimes people even end up getting married to someone who is actually not good for them. And then at some point they realize how much of their time they have wasted, and how much of their life they have ruined or sabotaged by going with this person. And Wes was wise enough to support Bianca with her dream of trying to engage her crush. And when it didn't work out, he welcomed Bianca with open arms because she had learned her lessons. And that is important to avoid putting pressure on people, because she had her own time. She took her own time to process, to go through the process of failure in a way of finding out that this person that she wanted didn't really want her. He was just using her to get to her friends. And then she realized that Wes, after all, was interested in her. So, and he liked her for her, not for what she had or for her looks. And then self-love. Self-love is a theme in this film. Bianca liked herself, and it's important that we like ourselves. She liked herself. She didn't try to change herself. Even the transformation she went through was just to gain more confidence. It wasn't to change yourself through and through because your friends looked different or your friends were conceived to be beautiful. It is important that you don't compare yourself to other people. Like what Bianca did, she didn't compare herself with anybody. And you stand firm in your worth and in who you are. Yes, Eben Ako, very important to like ourselves. And what you can do is you can learn about self-love and confidence from others rather than learn to look like others. There is a great difference there between trying to look like other people and learning to accept yourself and learning to love yourself from the inside out from others. And that is a better comparison than trying to think, well, I need to dress like this person, I need to look like this person. Everyone and everything is different in this life. So it's important that we know there's nobody. I think you are seeing things, true memes. So the next theme that I picked up in this film is about from divorcee to motivational speaker. The thing with life is we've got so many people who have turned out to be motivational speakers who are inspirational to us. And this came from their pain. They went through pain and they transformed their pain and became motivational speakers, or they inspired others. And we need to use our pain to transform ourselves rather than get stuck in our pain and self-destruct. Because this is what happens in life. We all go through pain. But what's the difference between people who move forward in life and who don't is that people who move forward in life use pain to access their inner resources, to process their pain, to access their inner resources, process their pain, and make changes in their life. That is the whole purpose of the pain we go through. We are all given the pain that we can manage, and we all have inner resources to manage this pain. But what will you do when you are faced in pain? Are you going to self-destruct and drown in your pain? Or are you going to look into and find ways to change your life, to improve your life, to process your grief, to process your pain, and then also in the process of making changes in your life to support others? And this is what Bianca's mom did. After a divorce, she struggled and she went through the 5 stages of grief, and then she started to help others. And what I would like to invite you to do, what some people might do, is to make sure you don't use other people to avoid your pain, because at times we help other people without helping ourselves. We've got all these tools, this knowledge, this theory, but we don't apply it in our lives, and we just use it to share with others, to inspire others, without using the tools in our own lives. So just make sure you are doing the work. What I tend to do, even when I started helping others, is as I help others, I'm also helping myself. When I do sessions with others, I'm also attending the session myself. And this is important, and this is helpful for you because you need the resources more than the people who you are supporting. Thank you so much, Kelvin Brad, for following. I'm emotionally wounded. We all are, and I'm really sorry to hear this, but we can also access the resources within. We do have the resources, but it takes time and intention to process how we feel. So there is another theme. You need to take time to heal after a divorce. and before dating again. And this is what Bianca's mom did. She didn't rush out to start dating. She processed their grief and she started helping others. And then after that, she started dating again. So don't rush out there. Sometimes we use relationships as therapy. But yes, we heal in relationships. But sometimes we need that period between our breakup and the next relationship to process how we feel, to get to know ourselves a little bit more, and to learn tools to move into the next relationship with. Because again, when you are at work and you are struggling with work, what does your manager do? Yes, your friends can join the live. Thank you so much. You can invite them. What does the manager do at work? The manager will support you to get into courses so that you improve your performance. The manager will point out areas which you need to improve, and then you can start working on those areas. And we need to do the same thing with our relationships. We need to learn skills and tools. We need to recognize where we are struggling, and then we need to recognize what we need to improve on and work on. And we need to recognize what we need to do better next time. And this is something continuous. It's continuous self-development, whether it's at work or in life or in relationships. And it's something that we need to reflect on. Welcome, Batimutatwa. Thank you for being here. And everyone, we are welcome. Elle, thank you for joining. There's another theme, toxic on and off dynamics. And this is an important one, trauma bonds. When you find yourself getting into and out of a relationship, just like what Wes and Madison were doing, you need to take a step back when you get into on and off relationships. There is something that is not working. There is something wrong with this dynamic, and you keep going back. If you went into the forest and you were chased by a lion, you wouldn't run back into that forest once again because you like the forest. You'd be careful when you went back in. You would make sure that either you are going into a different environment where there's no lions, or you have found out more information that the lion you saw was probably just a stray and it's now back to the park, at the park. What we need to recognize is when you are in an on and off dynamic, is there is something wrong with the dynamic. And so you need to take a step back before you go back again to do another on cycle. You need to heal your life. You need to learn self-love. You need to develop and learn boundaries. And you need to also assess what the problem is. And if you want to go back, if there is that opportunity to go back, you need to communicate with this person what the problem is and what has changed and what needs to change. And when you restart an on and off relationship, you need to start it from scratch, rather than behave as if it's a new relationship. And this is what many people do. They go back to an on and off relationship like it's a new relationship, like it's the same relationship, like it's the relationship that they left. When you break up with someone and you come back again, it's no longer the same relationship. You are getting into relationship number 2. If you broke up twice, you are getting back into relationship number 3. So when you get back into a relationship you broke up from, it is important that you do the work. Hi, Shani. Hi, thank you and welcome here. When you get back into an on and off relationship, it's not the same relationship you are going back to. You are getting into a new relationship and you need to address what went wrong and you need to start a new relationship with this person. I'm not too bad. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's nice to see you here. You need to start a new relationship. Oh, thank you so much for the heart, May. Thank you. Much appreciated. Start a new relationship with this person because the old relationship is gone and the old relationship had problems. So if you start a new relationship, what's going to happen is you're going to start it with boundaries and communication and do things differently. Do things differently knowing that this person has left and come back, because there's a problem. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Shani. Oh my God. Thank you for meeting the goal. So it's important that you You are intentional with on and off relationships. Once a relationship ends, don't rush back because you are lonely, because it's the loneliness, and society again can push you to say, I want a relationship. But you don't have to rush. If you want a relationship that lasts and you are in and out of a relationship, you need to take a step back and take time to be alone. And then process what went wrong and process a way to find tools to use in your new relationship. And then when you are in a new relationship, communicate boundaries, continuously assess if there's any problem, and then see how it goes. Because if you keep going back, nothing is going to change in this relationship because there are issues. So this is what I wanted to share with you about on and off relationships. They are not something you want to get used to. Take the time to intentionally step away from the relationship and process what the problem is, and then go back with intention, go back with communication, and start a new relationship from scratch. Start dating again rather than starting like you are together, you're already together. You are not, because the time that you broke up indicates there's a problem and something might have happened in that time. So this is something that you need to be aware of. If you are in an on and off pattern, or you have someone you keep going back to, do not go back until and unless you have worked on yourself and processed and prepared some tools to do relationship in a healthy way. The next theme that I wanted to share with you is self-love. Like I said, Bianca accepted herself and her quirks, and she didn't try to be someone else. She wasn't glamorous. I don't know, it's very shaky, but I think I'll just finish. She didn't try to be glamorous, and she didn't try too hard to look different. She wear any makeup or anything like that. She developed an identity of her own. She knew she had her own insecurities, and she also recognized that her friends also had insecurities, even though they were referred to as beautiful and attractive. And she realized she shouldn't compare herself to anybody, because it doesn't matter how people look. We all have our insecurities, but that's what we need to work through in order for us to accept ourselves and live a healthy life and a quality life. Outward looks don't determine quality of life, and they are not a qualification for goodness or for good things or for relationships. And this is what Madison thought. Madison thought she was entitled to a relationship with Wes because she was more good looking than Bianca. But in the end, Wes chose Bianca because it wasn't about how anyone looked. It's about how he felt around Bianca. And again, this is something we need to recognize. It's not the beauty or outward appearance of people. It's how someone makes you feel when you are with them that matters. And we are not saying that feeling of butterflies and bubbliness. No, we are talking about someone making you feel safe. Someone who makes you feel inspired. Someone who makes you feel like you can tackle anything in the world. Someone who allows you to be you. Not someone who's trying to change you, or someone who wants you to jump through the hoops to make the relationship work. That is important to know. Thank you, Eben Ako. So, it's your mindset that helps in relationships. You need to work on your mindset whilst you are working on your beauty, whilst you are working on your weight, whilst you are working on anything else that you want to work on. I am an advocate of do whatever you want to look good, but don't overlook your mindset and your character, because ultimately that is what's going to determine the outcomes of your relationship. It's not how you look. Because if it was only about how you look, all the people the world deems as good looking would be in happy relationships. But all sorts of people are in relationships, and all sorts of people are out of relationships, and all sorts of people are in unhealthy relationships, no matter what they look like. Because ultimately, it's a mindset thing and it's a character issue. And it's about how you show up and your emotional intelligence, what you accept and your boundaries, and how you love yourself. And another theme is we need to recognize the more time you spend with someone, the more you get to know them. I say this because we do have people sometimes who jump into relationship They rush and they want things to be sped up. They want microwave relationships. You meet someone already, you are thinking about controlling how they do things. You want to go to bed with them and so forth. But the issue is you need to take your time to get to know someone. And when you get to know someone, you need the opportunity to assess, not to attach. Because sometimes people rush to attach to someone rather than take the time to assess this person and understand them, and then to consider and act on red flags. Because sometimes there are red flags, but because someone just attaches, they don't take the time to work on red flags. Thank you so much, Eben Aku. Thank you. And thank you and welcome to everyone who's coming on the live. So when you meet someone, don't rush to attach, take time to assess. Find out what this person is like. And don't put your feelings into the situation. Spend time with them and get to know them. And when you get to know them, you can then decide whether they are the best person for you or not, or whether you can start a relationship or start seeing each other. Because sometimes you hang out with someone and you are noticing the red flags, but because you are desperate and you are attached, you end up just accepting this person, but they are not good for you. So it's important to act on red flags. Luckily for Bianca, Wes liked her, and he was also aware of his own issues and took responsibility for any wrongdoing. This is what I liked about this guy. He owned his mistakes. If there was anything he did, he apologized. And this is something sometimes we lack in relationships. People need to learn to apologize. People need to recognize when they are doing something that's not helpful, and people need to act on their issues. Then another theme is strengths and weaknesses. Bianca was one of the school nerds and favorites in terms of class performance, and Wes was a great sports person. So Bianca helped Wes in time of need with his science, while Wes helped Bianca to learn to socialize. And I found that theme quite powerful because society and school do not teach us to socialize, do not teach us emotional intelligence, do not teach us how to engage with other people. You find most of the time when we are in gatherings, in situations, especially online, people just throw their comments, or they just say things without thinking, because we haven't learned to look into what we are saying and its impact. And sometimes we meet people and we don't know what to say. I have always said people know what to communicate in the bedroom. Sometimes people meet instantly and you take someone to bed because that language you understand. But when it comes to having difficult conversations, or inspiring conversations, or sitting with someone and just talking, many people can't do it, because they have not had the opportunity to learn to communicate in a healthy way. So that's something that we need to teach and learn also about communication, that people need to learn to communicate in a healthy way, in a sensible way, to use common sense and to approach situations with a root cause analysis. And education, people can be intelligent, they can be nerds, they can know their science, they can know their maths, but they don't know how to communicate. So that's important to reflect on and to assess and to teach people how to engage in a healthy way, because it's something that matters. And finally, if you feel like the Duff, it helps to assess how you feel about yourself and whether you are comparing yourself to others, because you are good enough as you are. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you took something from this analysis, from this review of Trauma on the Screen of the film The Duff, and I'm hoping what you have learned can be put in practice, or you can find tools to put what you learned today in practice, to love yourself, to accept yourself, not to compare yourself, to be a good friend, and to also allow others to be who they are and to not be cruel. Quality life before relationships. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Thanks, Aisha, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.